in business with Alan Sugar is like sitting in a boardroom with a hand grenade where someone's let the pin out. He's being so ruthless on me. I was like, this is the best mentoring ever. Other people are like, this is savage bullying. I came here bankrupt and I just sold my company for over 8 figures. I regret selling that business. I don't regret the money in my bank account, but I love that company. You're going to have a lot of shit happen in your life. Everyone's got that problem. It's time to stop making excuses and you have to do the bloody work. Most people just are not educated on money intentionally to create a society that stays the same and is controllable. If we had a load of me's out there, I mean, it would be a disaster.
Yeah, because you would be able to clean up.
It would be, yeah.
Mark Wright, welcome back to the On a Mission podcast.
I can't believe I'm back. I listened to our last episode on my way here. I was blown away by both of us. So we've got a hell of a mountain to climb to do a better one, but I'm confident we can.
Well, you are confident that we can. And one of the themes that we spoke about in the first interview was your passion for winning. And when you actually joined The Apprentice, for anyone who doesn't know, Mark won The Apprentice 2012. Please go back and listen to the original episode. It's laced with gold. But one of the things that you used to do was study the other successful winners previously so you could master how the game is not only played, but won. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you were just saying to me before we hit record was that you always ask people which is the best podcast interview that you've ever had so that you can go and study that to make sure that you're even better and are basically the best guest ever. And today I'm at VoxPod Studios in London, which I use quite regularly.
Great place.
You are the third and final guest of the day, and you have made it a mission in true Mark Wright style to be the best podcast.
Ellie, you made the fundamental mistake of telling me you'd done other podcasts before I got here. So then I go into competition mode. It's kind of the best and worst thing you did because straight away I'm like, I've got to be the best of the day. And whenever I do a talk, before I go on stage, I say to the people miking me up, this is going to be the best speech of the day. And I do it not for them, but I'm doing it for messaging for myself because it doesn't matter if I'm doing a talk to one person. I don't matter if one person listens to this podcast or 10 million. I deliver it the same no matter what. I turn up. You messaged me last night and you said, you better not have baby brain because for those who don't know, I just had a baby a month ago and I'm here. This is my first podcast since becoming a dad. And I said to you, I don't get baby brain. And I'm serious because it doesn't matter if I'm speaking to millions or a podcast that's massive or one that's starting out. I deliver 100% of the time. I come in and I give myself and I'm here and I deliver every time. And I'm telling you I'm going to be the best because that's me telling me that I need to be the best again today.
I love that. Well, this is definitely going to be the best. My first question to you, Mark, based on that is, what has been the best podcast that you have ever been on? Genuinely.
That is a really big question.
Mm-hmm. No pressure. I'm just staring at you here.
The best, listen, you are up there. You're the only one who ever sent me a bottle of wine after.
Forget the content.
Yeah, the content. And the content was great. I think we're both on fire that day. You would be in the top 3 for sure. I was on London Real when it first came out.
You were, yeah.
That was, in terms of setup, interview quality, that was exceptional. And I was on Stephen Sully podcast. His setup and his interview was very good. I think what makes a podcast great is the equipment, preparation from you were the most prepared I've ever been interviewed by. You were the most prepared. You understood me and my backstory the most. The questions, the environment, and how challenging the interview is. If you let someone come and sit there and just rabbit off their agenda, I don't think anyone learns from that, the interviewer or the interviewee or the audience. I like being challenged. I like being controversial. I like helping people. So they're probably the top 3. Yeah.
You know what's going to be really interesting is one of the things that got me into your top 3 was the level of preparation, whereas I have deliberately set no agenda for this podcast. So we're completely freestyling on this one.
I like that. Listen, I listened to our previous one. Your level of preparation was exceptional. And I think we covered my backstory, The Apprentice, working with Alan Sugar, we're in the middle of COVID at that time, my businesses, and a lot's happened in my personal and professional life since then. So freestyling, it might be the best way forward.
Well, one of the things that we spoke about and we were having a bit of a joke about was your what seemed like eternal hunt for a woman. So I'm guessing the fact that William's 1 month old now means that you finally got lucky.
The search is finally over. And I think you said in our last one, you saw me doing a talk and I was an audience of about 1,000 people. And I said, I need a girlfriend. That was me subliminally advertising to the audience. But I met a lovely young lady and we're engaged. We've been together 3 years now. And we're engaged and we've got a child that's 1 month old. So my personal life has changed, 360 degrees.
As has your professional life. But before we come to that, one of the points that you said in our original podcast was that in order to be successful in business has to be your number one priority.
Yes.
Now, based on the fact that you're a father to a 1 month old, has your position changed on that?
Absolutely not.
Brutal.
Absolutely not. If you want to be successful in any aspect of your life, that aspect must take priority. Where focus goes, energy flows. Okay, if you want to have a great ripped physique and body, you better spend your time in the gym and eating better.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have a great relationship, you work with your partner on your relationship. If you want to build a great business with wealth, that needs to be your priority and your focus. That's not to say you can't have other things, but wherever you want to build and create something, it needs to be your number one priority. I made my business and my financial health my number one priority for the past 12 years.
Yeah.
And it's in a pretty good space. Now and my relationship wasn't doing so good and I didn't have children and all of these things. So for me, I'm still focused on business. I'm still focused on empire building. I have made some time to do those other things. But listen, business is always going to have a special place in my heart and it's always who I am at my core. That's not to say I'm not a good dad as well.
No, I love that answer. And it's really interesting, I think, as well, when you're a parent, but when you love what you do as a business owner, it does kind of become your identity in the same way that being a parent is part of your identity. And life is one just big mashup. And it's really the game of life, I suppose, as opposed to the game of business. Like, how do you tick all of those boxes and then throw in the healthy eating, the fucking ice baths, all this other stuff we're doing for self-optimization, the breath work.
Yeah.
I was just in Mexico doing a bloody mushroom ceremony a couple of weeks ago, constantly just looking at all these different life hacks and different ways to connect and to optimize. And yeah, why not chuck in 3 kids, 2 crazy dogs to add to the mix?
I don't know
well?
how you do it, let me tell you, but it's the quest. It's not so much what you're doing, it's the quest to be a better person and continue learning. And something we said in our past podcast is it's that when you stop learning, your journey ends, when you stop trying. And it's that quest to be better, to be healthier, to be a better mum or dad, to grow a better business. And as long as you're trying every day, you're turning up, putting your suit on, going to the office, whatever it might be, as long as you keep going forward every day in whatever aspect of your life you're looking to improve, that's how you become a better person. And success doesn't just mean in business or financial terms. It could be healthier. It could be as a parent. It could be in any aspect. As long as you're trying and your attitude and your actions are taking you forward, that is success. And everyone's successful in different ways. The only people who aren't successful are people that don't have goals and who aren't trying to be better at whatever it is in their life. And they're people who I think are losers. If you are not trying, you don't have a goal, then what's the point of being here? If your goal is to be a better dad and you're trying to do that, you're reading a book, you're doing a course, you're spending time with your children, you're being successful.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I always thought that I was rubbish at goal setting, but I was rereading James Clear's Atomic Habit recently.
Good book.
And I realised actually I'm not, because my goal is to always be better. It might not necessarily be to fixate on specific metrics, but it's always to improve the process, hone, test and measure, upskill, educate myself. And I thought, well, just because I'm perhaps not setting goals in the conventional way that we're told to, the progress is like significant. So if it's not broke, don't fix it.
And it's what works for you. So a goal is not just something because you've written it down. I think you must write it down. That makes it more concrete and more defined, and your brain will start finding ways to accomplish it. But imagine getting on a ship with a captain and you ask the captain, where are we going? He says, I don't know. I'm going to cruise out into the water and see what happens. you ain't fucking getting on it. Do you know, that doesn't sound great to me. Or you get on a plane and they just go, we're going to go up.
See where the energy
and we'll
takes
just,
us.
when I get up there, I'm going to do this and then put the flap, and you'll be like, right, I'm just going to get off. When you get on there and you see all the maps and they're putting in the course and plotting this degrees and that, you're like, I'm confident I'm going to get on at London Heathrow. I'm going to get off at Sydney Kingsford Smith. That's how we do it. Your life and business and your family are no different. If you don't know where you're trying to get to, how on earth are you going to get there? And actually, I think the thing that holds most people back is they've never sat down with their partner, with their team of management and their business and thought, what are we trying to do? Let's discuss that. Most relationships fall apart because they don't have a common objective. They're just sort of like getting up, cooking, looking after the kids, whatever. They fall out of love and it's just a disaster, really. But they've never...
No wonder you were single for so long.
I literally have like, I put a business spin on everything. I literally have like brainstorming sessions, like sit downs with my partner. And I'm like, what are we trying to achieve? Like, are we on the same objective? Do you feel I'm meeting our goals? Am I feeling and we're feeling your meeting?
Partner's like, can I just get my morning
She's
coffee
like,
in peace, please?
Freaking out. But it works because I think you need to be clear in your own mind and in the people around you of what you're trying to do. Because if I figure out 3 years into our relationship that you're trying to do something that I'm not on board with, that doesn't serve you or me or our children. And it's the same in business, being clear on what you want, and how you do it is completely up to you.
It's really interesting though. I remember when I started the podcast, it was almost like I was adopting other people's version of success with my goals. I was like, yeah, I want to be bigger than Joe Rogan. I want to get X amount of million downloads per episode. And that was the kind of focus. And then when I stepped back and really sort of looked within, which sounds a bit cheesy, but it's the truth. I thought, oh, actually, I don't really care. I want to just focus on improving, whether it be improving the webcam, improving the recording equipment, making sure I'm hiring better videographers, better video editors, understanding the latest trends and SEO and all the other things that are relevant to my particular niche, getting around people that are more successful than me. I stopped focusing on the download numbers. I stopped fixating on the retention. All the things that we're told to test and measure, I completely ignored. And that's when I saw the exponential growth.
And that's why you'll be successful. And that's why this is in a 10 times better place than where I was with you on here a year or so ago. You've come such a long way because you're enjoying it more and you'll be more natural at it. And you're still great back then. But I think we get caught in believing that being number one is the most important thing. Success is being happy.
Yeah.
Right? And if this was the top podcast in the world, but you fucking hated it, you were miserable coming in here to do this, that isn't success, even if you were number one.
Yeah.
If you came in here and you're number 10, but it gives you so much purpose, you're enjoying it, you don't have to look at any metrics, I would argue that's better than any number one position ever. I've been in areas of my life and in businesses that are far more financially successful than the things I've enjoyed, and I've hated it. So I left it because you cannot be successfully sustained in something if you don't enjoy it, no matter how much it pays you. We all set out for money initially or to be number one, but it's actually what gives me purpose in the day. Do I come in? Am I happy? And if you do that, trust me, that's all that matters in life.
I feel like I've won the lottery really now because I'm getting paid, finally monetizing the podcast, got quite lucrative sponsorship deals. And I just bring people on that I'm interested in talking to, people that I feel that I can learn from. So as I'm growing and I'm learning, I'm able to share that value with the audience and get paid well for the privilege. But I tell you what, the amount of mentors and masterminds and things I've spent stupid money on over the past 5 years compared to doing this podcast where I get access to, honestly, it's just the biggest life hack ever. All these multimillionaires, billionaires, and also successful in completely other areas in life. I'll do some of the other things I was talking about there, like breath work, literally anything I'm interested in, nootropics, plant-based medicine, crypto trading. It's like you've got access to people who you can't realistically just ring up and say, can I pick your brains? Because no one's got time for that. But yeah, the more successful the podcast becomes, more of a commercial asset it becomes and the easier it is to access people.
You've got one of the best jobs in the world
Yeah.
because you're speaking to interesting people who are the best at what they do in their field every day.
Yeah.
And you'll become a better person and you'll grow so much from that. And you might stumble into a career or an opportunity just from these connections because
Yeah.
business really is networking and you're doing the best form of networking every single day. And also, I mean, the education system in the business community is something that really upsets me because you get all these charlatans that go and charge someone 10, 20, 30,000 pounds for a course of garbage. The real people who
I signed
understand.
up for most of those, by the way.
And me too. And me too. When I started out, I didn't know who to follow, what to listen to, how to do it. So I did these courses and they weren't worth the bloody paper that they gave you. They were just garbage and I learnt nothing from them. The only people making money were the people on the stage teaching the course. And they weren't even, these property developers that have no properties and, these Forex traders that have never traded Forex. It blows your mind when you get into the details of it because the real gangsters, the really successful ones don't have time to create a course and sell it because they're fucking doing it and they're doing it really well. But here, listening to podcasts and the people that you're meeting are the real folks. They're the ones that don't have time to give you sell you a fake box because their ethics and their morality and their success means they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But they'll come here because it betters them, it gives them a voice.
Yeah.
And it helps you because you're meeting real people.
I feel like it really adds value to the world as well because it's a low entry form of education for people. It's not just motivation and inspiration. There's so much golden, actionable advice from these podcasts that people, should they choose to implement, could actually change their life. And when we met back in 2018 at the Grant Cardone event, just being in that room, like, do you want to know a secret?
What? Tell me.
So what did you think of me 2018, if you can recall that far back when we met at the Grant Cardone event?
What did I recall of you? You were a charming lady who was just setting out on her entrepreneurial journey, was my take.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2018, you're right. I was on Job Seekers Allowance when I met you.
I didn't know that.
No, funnily enough, I wasn't advertising it.
Strange.
Yeah, I was there to raise finance. So yeah, I did some property education, I think August 2018. I'd been made redundant. I'd worked in a prison. No, I wasn't a prison officer, but I worked in the prison service for about 9 years. Got made redundant whilst I was on maternity leave. I was only on Job Seekers Allowance for a few weeks. I'm not trying to plead poverty. We still had the sort of stereotypical middle class life, the 4-bed detached house and, the 2.4 kids and all that. But my mental health was absolutely shocking. I'd been on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication for about a decade. I used to have panic attacks regularly before leaving the house.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in a complete pickle. And only a couple of months before meeting you, I was physically trembling at doing a 30-second elevator pitch in front of a room full of 10 people as part of the property training event that I was actually on. And it was something that Grant actually said, and I'd love to have the opportunity to say this to his face, but he said something, because he'll not remember, he just goes off script, doesn't he, when he's doing these talks. But he had a little bit of a dig at the pharmaceutical industry and he was talking about accountability, and some people don't want to hear this, and obviously I'm no doctor and I'm certainly not giving health advice. But something he said during that event really resonated with me about taking ownership of exactly where you are, because you can't bullshit yourself. You can't look in that accountability mirror and bullshit yourself. You can bullshit everyone else. You can bullshit in social media, but you cannot bullshit yourself. And I got my heavy duty medication and I literally chucked it down the toilet.
Well, fair play.
Which again, I wouldn't recommend because it did leave me feeling suicidal, which is, I'll be completely transparent about that. It wasn't the best way to go about it. But I'm still very glad that I took that decision, came off of medication, and you probably know the rest of the story. We've got 25 properties within our, we did 25 property deals. We didn't necessarily buy 25 properties within the first 12-month period. And it was getting around people like yourself, people like Grant, even though I came across as confident and charismatic to you, like I was so far out of my comfort zone just being at that event. We had spent, when I got made redundant and got £7,000, when I say middle class, we were your stereotypical middle classes, and we had a very nice life, 2 holidays a year and fuck all in the bank. So when I got made redundant, Mark was the main breadwinner, but we didn't know anything about wealth creation or generational wealth or anything like that, any of the sort of things that we've been studying over the past 5 years. And the £7,000 I got redundancy money, we spent on our property education.
Oh,
and
gosh.
then that Grant Cardone event, we just put it on credit cards. Again, I'm not advising other people to do that. Our risk appetite's clearly a lot higher than other people's. And my husband was already quite experienced in business as well. So we weren't coming into it as complete novices. But yeah, we went all in. We sold our family home. We moved into a rental. We put every penny of equity that we had in our property business just to
Bloody hell.
give us a leg up. But it just goes to show that when you put yourself out there and you just take the right steps, and they don't need to be quantum leaps, just baby steps, getting around the right people. You just said there, to kind of bring it full circle, that business is about relationships. It truly is, because the connections that you make at events like that, or the golden nuggets of information, whether it be business or personal, can completely transform the whole trajectory of your life, as that flippant comment from Grant did with regards to how I then viewed medication and taking ownership of my own health.
Gosh, well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, I didn't know any of that. And I think what's indicative, and as you're saying all of that, I'm thinking you never know when you're speaking to someone. You presented yourself as this most energetic, confident, sure-hearty person in front of me. I would have never thought those things, you were going through those things. And, there's so many people who have had similar stories when they've said, I've met you at an event, or I was an employee for you, and these are the things I was going through. And I would have never thought that. And someone sitting across from you, or you meet, tomorrow, or you've met in the past, you never know what anyone's going through. And I think you've got to be mindful of that. When I'm at events, these stories ring through my ears constantly, because that's why I do the events, because if I can help people, and I know Grant feels the same, if we can go to these events and speak and change one person's life, that's better than any paycheck you can ever get. But it means a lot. And I think you just got to be aware that people are going through a lot of shit, and we need to help each other out. But what you say is your network is your net worth. And by just going to an event, you tell your own mind, I'm ready for change. So you put yourself in a position to hear something new, then you hear something new, then you need to take action. You need to be ready to go. You then need to go. You then need to take action. And if you do those 3 things, you can look back in 12 months and have a completely different life.
Mm-hmm. Growth doesn't come from comfort. And I hope anyone listening to this will, the reason I'm so transparent about the struggles that I've had in the past with mental health and finances and everything else, is because people are very surprised. And I want them to know it's not been easy. And I don't ever want to make out that you go to one event and you get the golden bullet or 5 steps to success, and then that's it. As I'm sure it goes out saying, to chat to somebody like, that's when the real work starts. Like when you won the Apprentice, that's not like, oh, brilliant, you're a winner. It's like, fucking hell, like day one, now the hard graft starts, the blood, the sweat, the tears. It's a true baptism of fire. But the point I'm trying to make is that you have to turn up on the days that you don't feel like turning up. Whether you've been kept up all night with the baby crying, whether you've had a panic attack just before your first ever podcast was scheduled, whether there's been a power cut, whether you've had a billionaire investor back out of a property deal, no matter what happens, you have to continue to put one step in front of the other, because that consistency is what compounds into creating that momentum, which ultimately leads towards success, doesn't it? You can't stop every time you hit hard times.
100%. And we're seeing, and today's society, unfortunately, we're going back the other way, where there is so many excuses. And we've all got an excuse. We've all got someone that we know that has cancer, someone we know that is suffering with mental health, someone that we know that has just been fired, someone that we know that has this insert disability, color, race, gender problem here. Everyone's got it. So we either use that to keep us down, or we use that as our catalyst to move forward. And I think we can all create an excuse, and there's a lot of people in today's world that do. But if you can understand you're going to have a lot of shit happen in your life, there's
Mhm.
probably a lot going on right now.
Mhm.
Everyone's got it.
Mhm.
Everyone's got that problem. Some people just don't choose to use that excuse. They choose to use that as fuel to go on, take those steps forward, and create the life that they've always wanted. And then you can turn and look and say they got lucky or all of these things. But let me tell you, success is paved with the people who just took that opportunity and moved forward one step at a time. And then you look back after 10 years and you say, yeah, you got lucky. You haven't seen when you do your first talk, one person turns up. You
Mhm.
haven't seen the days where the customer, your contract doesn't go through, or all of those things. Every person has it. You just have to start and get rid of the excuses. The less excuses you have, the tougher you can get, the more resilient you can get. And as long as you can continue to move forward, you'll eventually get there. But today, not many people are moving forward really, and the speed is getting slower and slower because we're living in a world of excuses where it's okay to have excuses, and we've got to put that in the bin.
Yeah, it's okay not to be okay. Well, look, we all have days where we're not okay. Of course,
Yeah.
we have to acknowledge that, but it's certainly not okay to live in that space. If you're continually not okay, something has to change. Some aspect of your life needs to change. And we can't just presume that everyone else who's got more success than us in whatever area of life we're focusing on has had a easier path,
Yeah.
because chances are they haven't. And this is why I love having these conversations, because it's pain. It is blood, sweat, and tears. That saying is there for a reason. And I heard you say in one of your previous interviews, I think someone said, "Oh, how can you tell if someone's genuine in business or something like that?" And you said, "I can see the pain in their faces."
It's true. If you want to go and be successful, get ready for the most amount of pain you can't even imagine at this point. And those people who are where you deem to be success, they've been through a lot more than you have
Yeah,
been, and you more than you give them
yeah.
credit for. It is hard to get to the top, and it's even harder to stay there.
Hmm.
And the sacrifice and the pain and the continued resilience it takes is unimaginable. But instead of wishing for an easier life, you need to just get hard and almost wish the pain upon you and just create that resilience that I know today is going to be hard, but I know I'm harder, and do it anyway. Do it anyway. Continue to turn up. Continue. I love hard days. I'm
Hmm.
like, because I know when things get hard, when I say when the sea gets rough, we see who the skilled sailors are. Because I know I'm a skilled sailor. I know I can outwork anyone. I know I'm a tough bastard that can just stay in a deal or a situation longer. And I just keep winning because of that. And I don't say that to show off. I say it because I'm trying to encourage other people that it's time to stop making excuses, because you hear about all of this crap, that's going on in the world and on social media. Excuse, excuse, excuse. I'm not where I need to be because of the government, because of this defect, this family member, this situation, my local council. I've heard it all.
Hmm.
And you're like, you're not where you are because you have problems in here. You're holding yourself back. And as soon as you cut every other excuse out and you take full responsibility for your actions, it's so powerful. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm not where I want to be because I haven't done the right things, but
Hmm.
from today, I'm going to start to do the right things. And where I want to be is here. And to do that, I need to do X, Y, Z. You will be a different person. It's so powerful when you just take responsibility. And when you speak to someone that says, I made this bad decision and it cost me, you go, wow, that person's taking responsibility.
Hmm.
There's power when you hear someone speak like that,
Hmm.
but not many people do it.
It's an interesting one as well, because I've built up, it's in quotation marks, a personal brand over the years. And I try to be as authentic, again, it's a bit of a cliche, as possible, sharing the lows as well as the highs.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting. I had, you've got to be careful as well when you're reliant to a degree on private investment, that you're not too transparent online, not that, in a sort of sinister way. But if you were to go online and just talk about all the challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis as business owners, it'd be like the Oprah Winfrey show. You'd be like,
God.
oh, and another thing. Oh, and another thing. I had a friend come round for a cup of coffee recently, and she's in property as well. So we just end up talking about property, even though I'm not really operational in our property business anymore. And anyway, she's just turned around and said to me, and she's like, "Have you actually got any property deals that are going well?" And I realised that even though I'm a very positive person, I only actually talk about the things that are not going well within certain businesses. And that's probably because I'm like, well, why do I need to tell you about the ones that are going
Gone
well?
well.
There's no problem solving required for those ones. But if you want to sort of brainstorm with me on like X, Y, and Z, then yeah, happy to do it. But it's funny, you have to catch yourself from focusing on the negative sometimes a little bit.
Well, we all do because it's what needs attention. If things are going well, they're probably not on your mind because they don't need work. But it's important to give yourself credit for the things that are going well and to speak about those because it'll remind you of the good things you can achieve and that's going on in your business. And that gives you a bit of a motivation to keep going on the tough things. But you were speaking about you've got some notoriety and some online presence because of the stuff you do with this. So many people have asked me why I haven't posted about my baby online. And they were like, one guy said to me, you could have got so many followers and likes and engagement from that. And that's exactly why I don't post my children or my child online is because I would be posting that to get credit for me, likes for me, engagement to my profile. What if my child grows up and decides he doesn't want social media? I've taken a choice away from a human being where I have no right to decide if that choice is he would like to make that yet or not. And I have nothing against parents who post their children, but I made a decision with my partner that we will leave that up to him. And if he decides he would like to be on social media, he will have that right at the time, but I'm not going to choose that for him now for engagement for my personal benefit. And it was amazing how many people have reached out and asked why I haven't done that. I found it fascinating.
Yeah, wow, that's really interesting. But an interesting take from you to say that you've had PR businesses and are still involved in PR business as
Yes.
well. But I love that about you. But it's something, just going back to that point I was making as well, just sort of thinking as I'm talking a little bit. I think I've found with myself, there's still an element, even though it's sometimes walking the walk, isn't it? Do as I say, not as I do. But on occasion, I still find myself dulling down my own light
Yeah.
to kind of blend in with other people. So if I'm talking to someone else who is in the trenches, I'll probably try to mirror what the sort of their mood or their energy is a little bit because I don't want to
Show off or
show off a
got
little
you,
bit.
got you.
So yeah, when my friend was saying, are all your property deals? I'm like, well, no, but it's a bit almost arrogant, isn't it? I suppose to be like, well,
Well,
we've
I
got
think
X,
you're
Y, and
being
Z.
too kind to your friend. I think if you're going through a hard time, I think as long as you don't give tacit approval is really important, particularly in business. And it depends what relationship you have with someone. If you have things that are going well and you're covering that up to make her feel good about her ship position, you're actually doing her a disservice.
Mm.
Because by being honest with her and challenging her and saying, actually, you should be doing this, why, and this, it's working for me in my business, you could actually really help your friend.
Yeah.
So by coming down to her level and being negative and sobering just so she doesn't feel worse about her position, you're actually taking her backwards.
Yes, I agree.
Sometimes by saying, this is going really well for me, this is going badly, I think by being honest, particularly in a business relationships, it helps everyone in the room. But particularly in this country, everyone's so friggin' polite all the time. No one's really saying what they mean either, and they're all sort of holding each other back.
Yeah.
And I love my friendships or relationships that really challenge me, where I say some bullshit. I have a couple of friends, one that I'm thinking about in particular. He does not let me get away with a sentence of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, well, I'm not sure I can do that, he will cut me down and say, like, I've seen you do this. And you've all look at these 3 examples where you've already done that. And he really challenges me.
Yeah.
And they're the friendships that have served me the most because I have friends I go to when I need a bit of, picking up. I have friends when I need a bit of a drink, and I have friends when I know I need a pull in the right direction. And that's really helped me. And I've also had friends I know need to get out of my life. And they're all equally important, by the way. So I would say you owe it to your friend to be more honest about what's happening in your position, regardless of how you want to make her feel. Owe it to her to take her where she needs to go.
David Goggins talks about this in his second book, and he basically says he challenges the depth of people's relationships, basically. He's like, if you meet up with an old friend who you've not seen for a while, and they've put on 4 or 5 stone and they're looking morbidly obese or very unhealthy, and you don't say anything, you have your conversation, your cup of coffee, whatever, you then leave, get back in the car, look at your partner and go, okay, now
Yeah, he's
she's
got
piled
fat.
the weight on, or
Yeah.
he's put on the weight on, then not only are you doing that person a disservice, but you know, you're not being authentic. You're not being a good person, really, because a good person that loved and wanted to support that individual would just say, blame Nick, you have that uncomfortable
Yeah.
conversation sometimes.
That's a real friend. And listen, you don't have to do it in a David Goggins style of delivery. You can do it in your own personality and your own manner, but it's giving that tacit approval or being that person that's a bit sort of vanilla, where you go to someone's house or you have a meeting with someone, you're thinking all of this stuff. You then get in the car or the tube on the way home and say all of that stuff to your friend or your partner. Why did you not say it in the room?
Yeah.
And all of the successful people I know in business are robust in person. They're not keyboard warriors. They're not, WhatsApp heroes after the fact. They sit there in a meeting, look you in the eye and say, you don't understand what you're talking about. You need to know your numbers. This deal won't work. This will work. You're better than that. And yes, it hurts that person sometimes, but that is how growth happens. That's how good mentoring is done. And that's how success happens, from tough exchanges, tough interactions. I've never had a business deal that's gone smooth. My biggest ones have always been the most painful. They've been hard. There's been tough discussions, things thrown in meetings, whatever. But actually at the end, I've learned an awful lot and made an awful lot of money. You need to get tougher. You need to get more robust, and you need to be more direct with people. And the more you do that in today's world, the even further forward you're going to go, because less and less people are doing it.
Yeah.
People won't say shit if it's in their mouth now.
Mhm.
They're so worried at offending someone that they don't say what they mean. They don't say what they feel. That person learns nothing. They learn nothing. Everyone's just sort of wallowing around in mediocrity. It's craziness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. You wouldn't get away with that with Dan Pena. But I remember you saying in our last interview that Alan Sugar, Lord Sugar, is a pussycat in that boardroom compared to the reality of doing business with him. And we actually had a discussion around the fact that some people, previous apprentice winners and other employees, have actually publicly classed that as bullying, whereas you've classed that as world-class mentorship.
Yeah, and it's amazing because what I learned from him is money can't buy. It is unbelievable what I observed in his boardroom, what I learned from him over working with him for 8 years was literally incredible. And I will take what I've learned from him and go on to use that in my rest of my life and my career. Some people did it for 6 months and then sued him in employment tribunal for, bullying and constructive dismissal and all of these things. I was like, this is the best mentoring ever. Other people are like, this is savage bullying. Isn't that fascinating? I'd go, wow, he's being so ruthless on me because he's trying to demonstrate where I need to go. Other people say he's hurting my feelings and I'm taking him to the employment tribunal. Craziness. And he must just be shaking his head. I must be absolutely crazy. And we're going to see more and more and more of that. You need to get different results to where you are today. You need to become a different person. You need to be open to change. You need to be open to challenges, and you have to do the bloody work.
Ha!
And if you're not doing a good job and someone says, Ellie, you can do better than that, this is how you do it, it's not bullying. They're not bullying you if it's true.
Yeah.
Listen, in the workplace, sometimes there are things that are bullying. There is racism. There are sexual things that happen that are all inappropriate. And there is times and institutions that are set up to deal with that. But that has then bled into everything else, where if I say your work isn't good, it's now bullying. And it just churns out this crap that we're seeing. And let me tell you, to handle the mentoring that I had, you need to be a tough bastard.
Yeah.
But look at the results I got. It's unbelievable. I came here bankrupt almost. I think it was 170 pounds when I got to England. And I just sold my company for over 8 figures
Wow.
with Alan Sugar. And I sit here as a very financially well-off person, not to show off, but I came here with nothing. And I'm leaving with a whole lot of money. And I had no government things available to me, anything. I was living in a hostel to where I live now. And the only thing that happened was I worked really hard, had some good mentoring, did some courses, opened a few businesses, and stayed focused on what I was trying to achieve and listened to the people in my group who I knew had gotten the results and the success that I wanted to achieve. And I did as I said.
I'm very interested in hearing more about your exit for Climb Online. However, I've got to ask you first, are you able to give us any details of some ding-dongs you've had with Lord Sugar?
Oh, gosh. I could write a book on just ding-dongs. I could write a book on ding-dongs alone before I get into any of the advice or any of this stuff.
Yeah, I love the way that I just went straight for the scandal.
There were some good bits too. But I think when you start working with him, and the first email I saw, he sends in caps lock, red, size 20, 22. And it's just a lot of swear words, a lot of, stuff that I hadn't really seen. I came from a corporate American company as a sales rep.
High-fiving you on the way in.
Yeah, you're kind of like, hey, man, you guys are going good, to like effing and blinding and very direct. It was like, this is going to be a baptism of fire. And when you go in and sort of have a meeting with him, as soon as you say something that's like not kosher with him, items can leave the desk and papers are ripped and standing and yelling and huffing and puffing. It's fascinating. It's like being in a room with like a sort of wild dog. You know it's there, and you kind of like, at some point it's just going to go berserk. And I read a fascinating quote by someone who did business with Alan Sugar. They said, being in business with Alan Sugar is like sitting in a boardroom with a hand grenade where someone's let the pin out. You don't know when it's going to go off, but it's going to go off. And I was like, what a fantastic quote that is, because it's so true. He's a master of like just controlling a room, controlling an environment. And when he needs to, really give everyone a spray, he can do it. And it's fascinating. I remember on my second or third day of The Apprentice, the first day, everyone was so scared in the boardroom, no one said a thing. The second day, because the first day, everyone was like, you could see the contestants, they were like trembling in the line in the boardroom. And as a couple of days went on, they got more comfortable. And he was picking up that the contestants were getting comfortable. And one day, out of the blue, he just went ballistic for no reason. He just went completely psycho. And he walked out of the boardroom and left everyone in there, film crew, production, Karen and Nick Hewer and all the contestants. He left us there for 25 minutes.
Oh, wow.
He just did a psycho rant, left the room, and then he came back in. And I was like, that was magic. He just gained back the control of the environment like that, because he could feel people getting too comfortable. And he's like, I'm the boss, went psycho, left. It was such a power move. And I absolutely loved it. And he's the master of the power move.
Wow. I always got the impression he would be a bit of a, I don't know, not a teddy bear behind closed doors, but has he got a softer side?
Not that I saw.
Not in 8 years of working with him daily.
I mean, I work with him daily, if not weekly, for 8 and a bit years, and I never saw a softer side. He was very kind to me in a lot of respects, and has helped me a lot in my career. But I never saw a gentle side at all. Not at all. He was very tough, very ruthless on me, very tough on me. And it made me a very good businessman.
Wow. Do you still watch The Apprentice?
Do I watch The Apprentice? Sometimes, if it's on, I'll watch it. I'm not a religious watcher of the show. And I'll say it like this.
I can edit this bit out.
Yeah. I guess if you work at KFC,
Too
you
busy
probably don't
watching
eat
Love
KFC
Island.
anymore. I don't. I think once you know how it's all put together, and it's taken such a huge chunk of my life.
Mm.
I've done a lot of things in my career. I've done a lot of things in business, and everyone remembers me for this like 9-week period of my life, which I'm incredibly grateful for, and I wouldn't change it for anything. But I've got a lot else going on outside of the Apprentice.
Well, let's talk about that, because we mentioned in the first interview that you've got multiple businesses,
That's
multiple
true,
property
yeah.
businesses. I think, were you involved? Was it toothpaste or it was
Hair care. We had a hair
really
care
random?
business. Yeah.
PR, but you've recently exited Climb Online for
yeah.
8 figures. And I wanted to ask you, what was your reason for selling? How did you know it was the right time?
I didn't know it was the right time.
I could just see your eyes go, you're like, how honest should I be with it?
Yeah, I regret in a lot of ways selling that business. I don't regret the money in my bank account at all, but I love that company. I love the employees that work there. I love the customers that we have, the work that we've done, the brilliant brand that business became was a dream that I had from a kid, to own an advertising agency and to have a great business with all these people and all these brands. And out of the blue, we got an amazing offer from a company abroad. And the average marketing company sells for 2 to 3 times EBITDA. We got an offer for 9.5 times EBITDA. So excellent exit money. Incredible opportunity to give me the wealth to go and help other entrepreneurs do more of the things I love and start other businesses. And most people never sell a business. 95% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. Then I think it's only 10% of businesses ever sell. So most businesses fail. Then the small amount that's left, only 10% of those ever sell. So to start a business and succeed, then exit is almost impossible. And I'd never properly done a third-party exit. So as part of my journey as an entrepreneur to scale up and sell, to give me that experience in my arsenal. It was tough. The sales process was difficult. It was long. The due diligence was hard, but we did it. And it gave me an amazing experience to add to help other people with. But I missed the company terribly. And when I started in business, all I wanted was to one day have a load of money in my bank account. That was the goal, before you realize that money doesn't make any difference. And when that money hit, I can't tell you how empty the feeling was.
Yeah.
How it did not do what I thought, or how I thought I would feel a certain way and I didn't feel it. And it's because, like we spoke about before, what was giving me purpose and happiness and passion was never the money. It was going in and building something and creating something and working on things with people I enjoyed doing it with. And that was sad. I think I mourned for about a month after the sale. And I've had 2 or 3 dreams where I feel like I've dreamt that I'm still working there and I'm still the boss and all of these things. So there is this emotional thing that happens after you sell a business, but every entrepreneur out there, every business owner, I can't encourage you enough. You must aim to sell your business, because you will exit it. One of 3 things will happen. You will die. You will exit it through a third-party sale, or it will go broke. And you want it to be the sale.
Yeah.
Because one of the 3 is going to happen. That has to be the only 3 things that happen. You want to make sure that you're always planning to exit in the right fashion from your business, so you don't leave your kids a nightmare to deal with when you're gone.
You know, it's really interesting. I've now spoken to 3 people who have sold their businesses for multi-8 figures. Al Barrett, founder of Grenade, and another friend of mine, Neville Wright, who sold Kiddie Care, which was the largest independent nursery retailer in the UK. He sold that for about 70 million to Morrison's in 2011.
Bloody hell.
And they both described the day the money hit their bank account as the worst day of their life, because, as you very eloquently said there, you've got this baby, you grow a baby from scratch, literally from a little seed. You give birth to this baby and you watch it grow. And you talk about community there and how close you were, not only with your staff, but with your clients. I've heard you say before, for your 30th birthday out in Vegas, when you look at the photos, It was pretty much all staff
Customers.
and clients, wasn't
You've
it?
nailed it. Or when you look at my 30th birthday was our employees and our customers. It's because I was serious when I said to you in our last podcast, if you want to be successful in business, it needs to be a priority, the
Mhm.
big priority. You need to love your customers.
Mm.
You need to love your employees. And I don't mean it like when I hate when companies say, in this company, we're a family.
Mm.
But I'm to just go on my own word. When I look at my employees, I love them like they were brothers and sisters, like my own family, like my own blood. And when customers and employees and things matter to you that much, your business becomes successful.
Yeah.
And then your original goal when you set out is to try and make some money. And then all of this other stuff happens and it creates you a life, a reputation, and someone offers you that big load of money. Now you've got a conflict. My original goal, or now what is my life? And I went with the money, and
Option A, please.
yeah, I'm going to be honest.
I did the soul search and
Yeah,
thought
I
I'd
was
take the
like, "Oh,
cash.
money, please." And it's so bizarre to the feeling that that happens is not what you think, and but it's a great experience because now I know that. So whatever I do next, it has to be fully focused on purpose.
Mhm.
What is the purpose of this, and what is going to create for me and for other people? And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, because you don't really need that much money to be truly happy. If you've got financial freedom, you don't necessarily need to be a multimillionaire. You can go and travel well, go on holidays, experience the world. That's not to say that you shouldn't have huge financial goals as I do, and I make no qualms about that. But I feel like I've realized quite early that money alone is not my metrics of success as well, which is why this podcast is so diverse because, well, we wouldn't have the suicides, would we, amongst the celebrities, amongst the CEOs and multimillionaires out there that, from an Instagram perspective, have the perfect life, the
Mm.
multi-million pound mansions, the beautiful physiques,
They're most often, the ones that are the most miserable.
Mhm.
And I know multimillionaires, billionaires who are miserable.
Mm.
They're empty shells of people because they've searched for something that they didn't find because they thought it was money.
Mhm.
And when they got to the end of their journey, they found it wasn't money and they've missed a whole lot of other things in life in between. When I was in hospital for the birth of my child recently, and I was watching the nurses work, and a lot of them make between 27 and sort of 34,000 pounds. I was awestruck by these people. It blew me away. There's a lot going on in the media about the pay to these people. I've picked being a business owner and entrepreneur, which pays very, very well. But I get to meet great people like you, have coffees and these juice shots and enjoy my day and do fun things. And I get paid really well for the privilege of doing that. The work they do is bloody phenomenal and they get paid a pittance to do it. And it really, I was sitting there just shocked by how hard their job is,
Mhm.
how much they have to know and do and be able to provide for people in unbelievably trying circumstances for such a little amount of money. And it seems messed up to me that they get paid the amount they do and they should be paid a lot more immediately. But it just goes to show that when you pick something that is rewarding and fulfilling and that you're good at, it isn't about money.
Mhm.
And I have so much respect for those people. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, money doesn't buy happiness, but it certainly provides freedom and provides choices as well. And that sort of old adage, it's a lot easier to make money when you've got money, is so true. But like yourself, we started out with absolutely nothing. And that's important to mention as well. I think the statistic's a bit out of date last time I checked it, but something like 90 or 95% of all net worth millionaires are first generation. Whereas I think there's a preconception that the majority of people with wealth were born with a silver spoon in their
Yeah,
mouth. And it's
most
actually
people
not the
lose
case.
wealth that are given wealth. It's like people who win the lottery, they lose the money
Yeah.
immediately. Financial literacy is made on the way to making the money. You learn how to get money, lose money, grow money, multiply it, and hold money. if you're just given money, you start buying liabilities immediately. A
Mhm.
watch and a big house and all the gear, and all of a sudden it depreciates and you've lost the money. And it doesn't matter how much you get. If you don't understand how money works, it collapses on itself immediately.
Mm.
If you give me money, I will make you a lot more because I understand how to multiply money and hold it and all of those things
Mm.
because I've dedicated my life to that art form. And we spoke a lot in the last one about education is most people just are not educated on money intentionally
Mhm.
to create a society that stays the same and is controllable and all of that sort
Mhm.
of stuff. If we had a load of me's out there, I mean, it would be a disaster.
Yeah, because you would be able to clean up.
It would be, yeah. It's crazy to me how easy this game is when you
Yeah.
it is like taking kids candy from a baby. For me, it's just so easy at making money. It's almost laughable now because I understand the game so well because I've educated myself on the game. Most people are just staying in their lane. What I find really funny is when I started going to seminars, speaking at seminars, my old friends who can't get hold of me these days, would tease me and say, oh, here he is, going to his seminars and trying to make money and learn about business. I sometimes see them on social media going to the same bars that we used to go to when we were 18, hanging out with the same people that we were when we were 18, dressing in the same clothes, and they don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And I'm a multi-millionaire.
Mm.
And the only difference is I wanted a better life. I had goals and I started chasing people and opportunities to give me that better life. And I got it.
Mhm.
And they used to tease me for going to seminars, reading books, listening to podcasts. Um, I don't know how much they're laughing about it now, but it's pretty funny, really, for me. The shoe's on the other foot.
You know what's interesting? 5 years in, I can honestly say that my network, not just through property, but mainly through the podcast, is absolutely incredible now. I'm very rarely, if ever, the smartest person in the room, and that's including when it's just me, and my 10-year-old. So I'm very proud of the success of my relationships, if you like. But I've got to be honest and say those first few years, I found a very lonely path. And bear in mind, I'm in partnership with my husband as well. But our circles just changed so much. And I was adamant I could still be Ellie from the block. I didn't necessarily, when I was meeting up with my Costa Coffee friends that I used to walk around the lake with, want to start talking about business or property or self development. But I found that people started changing towards me and started making assumptions and almost like I was behaving in a different manner, like I was up my own ass, when actually I was trying really hard to be quite grounded. And I would find in certain situations, might be six of us sat around the table and would speak to, the nurse or the teacher or whatever, the project manager, various job titles from different friends, and hear all about the trials and tribulations of what was going on in their life and talk about all the usual stuff, kids, holidays, whatever. And I just found that gradually over the months and years, people stopped asking me how I was getting on. Or sometimes if I've won an award or something really exciting would happen in my world, you might get a like but not a comment, which I know sounds really petty, and it sounds petty saying it now, but this is just the reality of how it was. And it did impact me. I was like, wow, you're meant to be one of my best friends. You've just seen that this amazing thing's happened to me, and you can't even pick up the phone or send me a WhatsApp. And yeah, obviously you move through that and transition. And now, like I say, I'm truly blessed to have such amazing people in my life. If I want to get fit, I don't want to be the fittest person in the room. My friends are running double triathlons back to back. They're doing endurance racing. They're doing weight training twice a day. I always want to feel weak and pathetic in that environment, or like I know absolutely nothing at a business conference, which is probably doing myself a little bit of a disservice. But success leaves clues, and as you change, you do repel the people who aren't meant to be in your life,
And
and
it's a
that's
good thing.
okay.
It's a good thing because, when they're not commenting and they're just liking your thing or not even liking at all, just viewing your stories, whatever, they're so jealous of what you're doing because they feel sorry for themselves because you're winning awards, you're doing whatever, and they're really sad that's not happening for them. So it is a reflection on them. But it's good that you get new circles as you grow, because Ellie from the block would still be getting the same results as she got in the
Job
block.
seekers allowance,
Yeah,
you know?
she'd still be on job seekers. So you have to grow that network. I remember I started working in a call center with 500 people. And on my first month, I said to my manager, who gets the biggest commission check here? He said, oh, that guy over there with the beard and that guy over there. I said, okay, how much that geezer make? He says, last month he got paid £35,000. I want my desk next to him today. So I go next to him, and then the second best guy is on like 28, 31,000 a month, something like that. And I said, can I buy you a beer after work? Yeah, fine. Everyone wants a beer or a coffee, right? So my job is always seek out who's getting the best results, figure out how on earth they're getting the results, and just do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I take him out, and by manna from heaven, he's Australian. So I use what I've got, sell to your tribe. So I was like, right, mate, you want some beers? Hey, mate. Yeah, like all of a sudden I'm like Outback Jack, like, let's go for a beer. And I said, you're the top guy. You're making all this money. How do you do it? What are you doing? Just like, give it to me. He said, go home now and tell your friends and family, I'll see you in a year. And that advice just like went through me like a shockwave. He said, because if you just give it a year and you just dedicate yourself 100%, you do these things, you'll make a lot of money. Gone. For 1 year, I just gave myself 100% at it. And I made okay money. I made pretty good money. But it was from that point, it really started to click. I started to go to seminars. I started to listen to podcasts, read books, and try to get in environments with people who are trying to live a better life. And once I did that, my friends completely changed. My environment changed. But guess what? My wealth changed. My career changed. Someone sent me a photo from an evening I went to 11 years ago. And they said, look at this. It popped up on my phone, whatever. I couldn't even believe that it was me in the photo. Didn't even look like me. I looked like a bum. It was how I look today. I'll show you the photo in a minute. You won't believe it's me from the person who sits here. The journey I've been on is so transformative.
Yeah.
I've become a completely different person that if I met myself from 10 years ago, I wouldn't believe either one of me. If I could I sometimes play this game where I could sit down with myself around a table sort of in 10-year intervals.
You'd end up in a fight.
Whoa, what a fight that'd be.
I think the new Ellie would beat the old Ellie. But I mean, yeah, I just thought a lot of the stuff I talk about now about mindset and resilience and accountability, I just thought that was a load of American bollocks. I really did. I just thought it was a load of sort of happy, clappy bullshit that believing in yourself, obviously you have to do the work. I'm not just talking about reading The Secret and manifesting, multi-millions of pounds. And I think the law of action can get overlooked sometimes in the self-development space. But that extreme ownership I was talking about earlier, that did not resonate with me 5 years ago because I was in victim mentality. And you said it earlier, you can make money or you can make excuses. You can't make both. It's that simple.
Yeah. And what's challenging for me as a boss and as a mentor of other entrepreneurs, sometimes giving the advice and the tough love to someone who's not ready yet. I had to learn this as a mentor, as a boss. Sometimes people aren't ready to be helped yet, no matter how great the advice is that you're giving. And you learn this when you have kids as well.
Look at your month in trying to dish out the parenting advice.
It's fine, whatever. You've got to know when it's the right time for the student. You can't just be giving your advice constantly on deaf ears, because if someone came to that version of Ellie before you were ready, you were still in victimhood mentality, you could have met me and not resonated or thought I was a prick, look at this rich bastard with all of his advice. Yeah, it's fantastic. But if you get someone when they're open to that change and wanting to be better, the first step in anyone's journey is wanting more from life.
Yes.
Once they want more for themselves and their family, their ears are open. And then things start to sink in. Then they do the things that they hear. And guess what? It works. Oh, it's unbelievable. I can't tell you how easy it is. It's ridiculous. Like I said, it's laughable about making money now. But no, the amount of people that actually come to me and say, will I sit down with them and teach them? Hardly any. It's because they don't want to do the work and they're not ready yet. It's unbelievable.
Do you not find that though, when people complain, and this is again why I had to move away from certain friends and certain relationships because it became apparent very quickly that no one was actually looking for advice. No one actually wanted to make those changes. And it got to the point when the same person was complaining about their job for like the fifth or sixth time that we've met up, but wasn't implementing any of the action points from our conversation. Not that I was mentoring them, that was maybe the problem. It just gets to the point you think, well, if you're going to run the same script and have the same narrative for your life, not take on board any advice, then you have to just part company with people.
Because at what point does that become detrimental on you? If you're around someone saying, I hate my job, for example, and you say to them, okay, quit, and happens 4 or 5 times, that person is a certain kind of person that's not going to contribute in your journey. Actually, they're going to start bringing you back quite quickly into a really dangerous position for your success. So it's like, I'm going to help you as long as we're helping each other. I don't know many people that have jobs. Most of my friends own businesses or are really successful in business. There's a hint in there, by the way. I'm surrounded by people I want the same results as.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're trying to get a few things off me too. So if someone was saying, you know, I hate my job and I'm not paid enough, first of all, I can't really think of anyone in my life like that.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'd probably just walk out of the environment because I'd be shocked they're in a room with me, and I'd be and they would not like me. They would not like me. I know that straight away because I'd say, well, why are you working there? Have you asked for a pay rise? Why don't you own the place? I've got so many questions. And it would be annoying. They wouldn't be enjoying the company. I wouldn't be enjoying the company. So it's very important. First of all, like we said at the start of this podcast today, what are you trying to get out of your life and business? Are the people around you contributing to those goals that you have? And they bloody well should be, otherwise you're not going to get them. And then are you accountable every day to those goals and to that success? And if that is all going in the right direction, you've got goals, the people around you are good and you're accountable, watch your life change in 12 months. You'll be a different person.
You said something really powerful there, though, because what you actually said was not to give advice based on where you are, to tailor the advice to where the individual is in their life.
100%.
Because I'm only 4.5 years into this journey, so probably half the amount of time that you've been an entrepreneur, if not less. So the thought of you being around the muggles, for example, is inconceivable. Whereas, although it is for me, I can still remember that pain, that lonely process of relationships breaking down and just sort of mourning the friendships that sort of died. There's like, best thing to do to lose 90% of your friendship group is set up your own business or to become a success, really, I suppose, is the kind of caveat there. But it's interesting when you were talking about your own experience and evolution as a mentor and as a coach, that, you know, it's when the student is ready, the master will appear, but it's not always the case, is it? Sometimes people think, and I don't know if that's the case in the situation that you were referring to, but I certainly know people that pay X amount of money to go to a conference or a mastermind, mentorship, whatever it is, and somehow think that by paying that 5,000, 10,000, whatever the amount may be, that is somehow going to guarantee them the success.
They think because I walk out of the stage and I have entrepreneur juice and it's a hidden secret formula that only a few of us have ever been granted it. I give you the little entrepreneur juice and you drink it and all of a sudden you're this super duper entrepreneur and success flows to you. And then when the steps are given and they're not entrepreneur juice, you're like, fuck, where's the entrepreneur juice? This sounds really difficult, what that guy just said. I've got to write goals and I need new friends and I need to tell my family I'm not going to go on 3 holidays with them a year and I need to quit my job that I've hated for the last 3. There's so much there to do. And then they leave, and then the longer they leave without taking action, well, it's never going to happen. And then they live the same life. So generally a change happens when someone gets really fed up, really fed up. Something is, they're pushed right. You know, I hate this relationship. I hate this job. And then they're ready to make that change. And then they listen and they're prepared to do whatever it takes from that point. And that's when you want to start working with people, because they're going to do these things, read the books, listen to the things. Nothing is worth having, like you've got to be prepared to come and work hard. And if you just do a year of working really hard in whatever it is, you'll make a success of it.
Yeah. You know what? There's been so many light bulb moments over the last 10 years. My husband had an electrical installation business before we got the property business. And in 2016, which is the year that I had the really bad pregnancy with our middle child, Isabella, we were going through financial ruin. Main construction company, our main contractor, national contractor, went under owing us what was a significant amount of money at the time. It was about 70K. And it came down to the wire whether or not we could keep trading. What I didn't know at the time is my husband, called Mark, and our other business partner, also called Mark.
Bloody hell.
Not confusing. They actually took out a bank loan to pay the 18 guys that were working for us at the time, knowing full well that we were very unlikely to receive our payment, and that decision could
honourable.
potentially cost us our business, which it didn't by the skin of our teeth. But I remember sitting there with my husband, and he was a sparky sole trader, always earned decent money. He was always quite ambitious for the levels that we were at, always just pushing for more with the knowledge that we had. So he was always at a higher rate than everyone else, getting better opportunities than everyone else, probably getting back then 60, 70 grand a year, which for the north of England, I know in London that's not a lot, but by most people's standards, we were pretty comfortable, like say sort of stereotypical middle class lifestyle. And we did have that moment when we had that tough conversation. Was he going to just go back to the tools? No responsibility, no apprentices, no staff, no overheads, and just go back to this mediocrity, this comfortable way of living, which after nearly going bankrupt twice was actually pretty appealing. And we just sat and we kind of looked at each other and we were just like, we haven't come this far to only come this far. And our definition of success changed there and then. We didn't just want to be successful, excuse my language, we want to be really fucking successful, and that was a defining moment for us. But of course, it's not like Hollywood when you make that decision and the music kicks in and the money rolls into the bank. God, then we lost like my father-in-law unexpectedly to cancer, then found out of, do you know the story about?
No.
Oh, right, okay. So Isabella's born in the midst of this absolute shit show, right? We've got 2 girls, both planned, both healthy. We're extremely happy with our home life, despite everything else being in complete ruin. My mental health, as I mentioned, was absolutely abysmal, whether it was postnatal depression, whichever flavour of depression you want to call it. It was in a very, very bad way mentally. And my husband had booked in to get the snip, the vasectomy, on the Monday. The Friday before his appointment, we found out I was pregnant with my third and definitely final beautiful little boy, Sammy. And yeah, sometimes when you get lemons, you just got to make lemonade. And obviously that is the best thing that could have ever happened. And beautiful little boy who we absolutely dote on. But yeah, at that point of making that decision and making that commitment to succeed, life had very different ideas for us. I remember ringing up my dad at the time, bearing in mind my mental health's not great. Isabella's 3 months old. And I said, Dad, I'm crying as I'm pregnant. Oh, darling, you've had the baby. I was like, no, Dad, this is another one. This is another baby. I was like, shit. So then we introduced little Sammy to the world. He had like colic and lactose intolerant, just didn't sleep for the first year. Then I got made redundant while I was still on maternity leave and on all this medication. And had it not been for that moment, to go back to the point that you said, sometimes it takes for something really bad to happen to motivate us into action. And I often wonder at that sliding doors moment, what would have happened if I had not been made redundant? Because I had quite a comfortable job. When I was in my late teens, I was a real high flyer. By the time I was 18, 19, I was responsible for 100 staff. And then my kind of life went from quite a decent standard right down. I got into victim mode. So many things happened, so many excuses, all very valid, credible excuses that I could give you as to why my life never panned out in the way that it should have done, why I never, achieved the potential that I was capable of. None of which was my responsibility or my fault. It was for all these other reasons that I had no control over, and that was very much my mindset. Hence why, prior to getting back into this space in 2018, if I'd have met the person that I am today, I probably would have walked out this room and thought, what a load of nonsense, because I've ripped up all the excuses that Ellie from 2018 had.
But all of that needed to happen to make you Ellie today. Generally, the harder the journey and the more shit you go through, the better outcome that you'll have, because you're faced with two doors and you get tired of making excuses eventually. Most people do. And you start taking responsibility, and you notice you said something really powerful. You reach these great heights. You're responsible for 100 people. You start going into victim mentality. It's quite amazing how quick that decline can happen, because successful people can spot a victim mentality a mile off. And those people then stop getting pay rises, promotions, opportunities. And people who are up for hard work, able to handle pressure, can take on responsibility, take, people under their wing. All of a sudden they get the pay rises, they get to open the new branch, they get shares in the next opportunity. It's amazing. And then the Mr. or Mrs. Victim mentality says, yeah, well, I've been discriminated against, and then more and more, and it starts playing into everything they're saying is happening.
Mhm.
And then they go further down and further down, and you turn around and in 5 years, you're living a completely different life that's not meant for you.
Mm.
But the more pain and suffering you go through prepares you for the greatness that you'll go on and achieve. And it's like what I was saying, I kind of wish toughness and pain and things on myself now, because I'm so prepared and calloused in my mind and body for this journey from the experiences that I've had, that it would take some really, I'm just speaking in business, some really shit stuff to happen to really rock me, because I'm expecting the worst constantly.
Yeah.
I'm ready. And I've got great people, great teams, great lawyers, accountants that I've built up through a career of really shit things happening. It's created infrastructure. And I look back in things where I thought it was the end of my career, the end of my life, something so bad had happened that it was the end for me, and it turned out to be the best thing ever.
Yeah, but I think the point that people might not realize is that if you were stripped of all your financial wealth, all your contacts, but you still had the knowledge, I'm very confident that you would be able to rebuild that wealth within a
Without a
very
doubt.
relatively
Without a
short
doubt.
space of time.
Without a doubt. If you took me back to that hostel that I started in 12 years ago, you took me back there today, you took everything away. I'd say in 2 years I could have a very successful company that's £1 million turnover easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
So, as a multi-millionaire now, what's your primary motivator?
Uh, Finding things that give me purpose, that make me happy, selfishly. And the thing that I get the most out of is helping other business people, speaking, doing podcasts, working with other business owners. I sit on boards of small companies,
Mhm.
helping them navigate through and avoid the mistakes and pitfalls that I did, taking shares in companies with good ideas. So for me, the thing that I'm really working on at the moment is I want to go into industries that have infinite scale, that have young, hungry entrepreneurs in it, that are going to change the world, that are going to do big things. I look at people like Elon Musk, love him or hate him, and other entrepreneurs of equal caliber, and I am awestruck at the risks they take, the goals, the audacious goals they set themselves, and they say stupid stuff that sounds stupid to the rest of us, but they actually believe, and they get pretty close. So I want to go and do some audacious things in my life and help other entrepreneurs create great businesses, because it makes me happy.
And you're more about the people than the sector, aren't you? As
I don't care about
demonstrated with your other interests.
I don't care about, I'm not into any specific sector.
Mhm.
I've had businesses in digital marketing, hair care, PR, web, all sorts of stuff. I mean, some of my businesses, property, investment, apps. I'm more into, is the person sitting across from me hungry? Are they an expert in their industry? And are they got big, audacious goals to achieve
Yeah.
something great? And that person is who I want to invest in and work with. I'm not precious about the sector. I'm precious about what we achieve in the end.
Would you ever do like a Dragon's Den style?
Yeah, I'd love to do a Dragon's Den-ish type thing where I can get across the board. But if you look at most of the businesses from Dragon's Den, a lot of them just turn out to be shit. They never amount to too much. Same with Apprentice. I mean, there's only a handful of us that have actually done well from it. And actually, the truth is most businesses are crap because the person running it is not passionate enough about their sector. They don't understand it. They don't care about the customer enough. But every now and then, out of every 10 businesses, you'll get 3 beauties. And it's those 3 I'm looking for constantly to really work with and go big from.
So give the listeners some advice then. What would really like spark your interest?
What really sparks my interest? Technology sparks my interest. You know, if you look at what's happening with ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, I think there's a huge sector appearing there in consultation or developing other apps and products to work alongside these technologies. Healthcare, I mean, particularly in this country, healthcare is a disaster and it needs a lot of help. And we need systems, business ideas, and technology that can come in and help that. And I love gaming as well as an industry. I don't play games myself, but as an industry, there's infinite scale there and a lot that technology can do for that. So I'm really looking for entrepreneurs who are really good at their craft that need a bit of money and help running the business, where I can come in and say, this is the team we need, here's the money, let's go and do it. So it's a pretty exciting time in my life because I've always been the young entrepreneur that needs the money and the help. Now I'm on the other side of the table. It's a different experience, but a challenge all the same.
So you're not retired then?
I will retire when I go in the box. When they put my cold body in the box at the end, that's the day I retire because I love this. I love it so much. I love speaking to business owners. I love the challenge of business. I love seeing an idea start from in your mind or on a piece of paper and you walk into an office with hundreds of people and that's amazing to me. That's what it's all about.
You know, it's really interesting. I had Barry Hearn on the podcast, who's obviously slightly older than you. He's in his mid-70s, I believe. But he's technically retired now from Matchroom and he's world-class at many, many things. But retirement certainly isn't one of them. It's like, how many days a week are you? Barry's like, 5 or 6.
That'll be me. Yeah, I'm retired 6 days a week.
Yeah, retirement's going really, really well for you.
But he probably feels retired because he's probably in a routine, doing what he loves, going around people that he loves. That feels like retirement. And everyone's goal should be to feel redundant or retired in their own business.
I was just about to say, so when I asked Neville Wright the same question, who's the chap I was telling you about earlier that sold Kiddie Care for 70 million, he's also got a property portfolio that's worth well in excess of 100 million as well. He's exited many 8-figure businesses, but he said that he retired at age 22, which is the day that he told the job centre to fuck off, basically, when he went in for his gyro or whatever it was and went self-employed. He said, I've retired on that day and never looked back.
Isn't it funny that most of the people that you've had on with similar stories say the same thing? There's a hint there too. And when your husband, Mark, great name, was saying he might go back and work for someone and, be done with it all, I don't know anyone. I was trying to think of anyone as you were telling me that story that's gone from self-employed business owner back to working for someone. I can't name one person because once you take that leap of committing to yourself and your family and creating something, it's very hard to go back and tell someone I need to go to the doctor's at 3 p.m. on Thursday, or I want to go and get a haircut this afternoon. You can't do it.
No.
Once you go self-employed and work for yourself and create for yourself, that is the first step to financial freedom. That is the first step to making massive wealth, but also taking control of your own success in life. And once you take that, you can't undrink that Kool-Aid. There's no going back. Once you take that red pill, you're not going back.
You can't go back. It's really interesting. I remember, again, talk about these light bulb moments, as an employee, asking permission to finish for a hospital appointment at 4:30 when we finished at 5:30. Now, we used to do 8:30 to 5:30, Monday to Friday with an hour for lunch. I used to always be first there, 7:45 in the morning, leave at 6 p.m. at night, work through lunch, sandwich, cup of coffee at the desk, that kind of thing. And they said no. Or they asked me to provide a bit of paper. I had to jump through all those hoops. And I remember there and then saying, you will never get one extra minute from me. I'm going to do 8:30 to 5:30 from this moment forward. I'm going to start applying for jobs and taking my full hour lunch break. Not only that, I corrupted everybody else in the office to take the hour off with me and we'd go into town
But
because we
this
were
is it.
town centre. It was such bad business sense.
But that's why I use it as an example, because when you're a business owner, if I need to go to the doctors this afternoon, for example, I just go. But yes, I start at 6 a.m. in the morning and some nights I work till midnight or 1 o'clock. You're never on or off the clock. You just live the life that you want to live. And that's the best bit about being an entrepreneur. I can come do a podcast, go grab some lunch, go have a haircut, work till 11 o'clock. No one's watching. No one's counting. I'm aware of what I am and putting in and putting out, but the work-life balance that everyone's so on about, oh, you've got to get up and drink 3 green juices and do 4 backflips and then you need to look here and do 8 breaths and to be great. Work-life balance is doing what you want to do when you want to do it and being successful and feeling motivated. That's work-life balance to me. And people always say, you don't seem to have good work-life balance. I've never said that. I love my life. I have great balance.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We spoke about this in the last podcast as well, actually, because somebody imposing their definition of what relaxing is on you does not work. For you not checking your emails while you're by the pool is more stressful than not. And I actually said to a friend of mine, I've pretty much taken last week off, which was half term with the 3 kids. And it's great to have that flexibility. And she was like, yeah, but you sent me an email at 4:30 the other morning. And I was like, I struggle with my sleep. And I was like, well, yeah. And I want to break down how many hours I'm thinking about work when I'm walking the dog, listening to podcasts, which might give me some inspiration and firing voice notes off to the team and doing a little bit in the evening. I'm like, I probably work more than the average employee on my day off.
Easily. But
it's
you
a
won't even
different
be
definition
clocking
of
it as work. You are, like we were saying last time, when I'm sitting by the pool doing emails, I'm actually relaxed. I know to some people that sounds mental, but I'll have a pina colada next to me doing emails. I am as happy as.
Yeah.
Other people get stressed by me. Oh, why are you working? That's you stressed. I'm loving life right now because I'm working towards my goals. See the hint here?
Yeah.
I'm working towards my goals. And whenever you're working towards what you know you want out of life, you're happy and you're relaxed. You take that laptop away from me, I'm now not working towards my goals. I'm thinking, what's in my laptop? I'm now not working towards my goals, so I'm stressed.
Yeah.
And people get stressed when they don't know what they want. And then the root default becomes, oh, I need money. Then you default back to money. If you walk out on the street and you ask someone, why are you going to work today? They don't actually know why. They'll say money, everyone goes to work, you have to go to work. They'll give you these default answers that they don't even know why they're going to work today. It's unbelievable. Blows my mind.
Final question for you, because I feel like we could chat for days. As someone who has just admitted to be working right until they go into that wooden box, what is the next big business goal?
I would love to take a company public, and I'd love to sell for over 100 million, the next one.
Fantastic.
That's the 2 things I haven't done yet. And I'm always after the thing I haven't done. So that list is getting pretty small now in business terms. But I'd love a publicly traded company and to sell for over 100 million.
And I feel like we also need to say, for the benefit of anyone who didn't listen to the first podcast, that when you were in Scotland comparing the Grant Cardone 10X event, you had the fortune of being taken on a 2-hour trip in a private jet by Grant Cardone, who spent the entire time mentoring you and imparting his wisdom into someone that he recognised had the attributes of a really successful entrepreneur. And he said to you at the time, all I ask in return is that when you achieve the same success as I do, you do the same to another budding entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you kind of said, you take me. That's how I took it.
That's amazing. Well, you're not far wrong. But that 2-hour trip and actually that 10x conference was a game changer for me because I got to meet so many. We met thousands of entrepreneurs. We toured the country for 2 weeks. We met thousands of entrepreneurs, spoke to tens of thousands of business owners about business, and I met a lot of connections, and I got my biggest customer out of that conference. So, it comes back to networking in the right places. I met you through that. I met a lot of other podcasts and different things, but I was in the room with people that were like-minded with similar goals, and a lot of magic happens.
What a powerful way to end the episode. Mark, how does it compare to the first one?
Listen, this was completely different, and different in a different way. So I'd recommend anyone go back, listen to our first one, and listen to this one. Will make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're interested in being successful in business, follow me on social media. If you search for Mark Wright, not the guy from The Only Way is Essex, I'll come up second with a blue tick that I don't pay for on all my other social media.
And you did kind of dodge my question. Can we just confirm right here and now, just between us, no one else, that I can come on the bloody jet?
You can definitely come on my jet.
Right, there we go.
You've got a agreement. As soon as I've got it, you're welcome for a ride.
Life goal right there. My right is it's being emotional.
This episode is brought to you by Red Light Finance. Red Light Finance is on a mission to bridge the gap between the real world and Web3 using blockchain technology. You too can power your business through Red Light Finance's gasless blockchain. I've personally been investing with Red Light Finance since day one, and I'm hugely passionate about the project. For more information on how you can get involved, visit www.redlight.finance. Thanks again to Red Light Finance for sponsoring the On a Mission podcast.